My name is Jenny. My channel is called Senior Perspective, and I do reviews of reality TV shows that I enjoy. Vanderpump Rules is a show that I have been watching since season 1, episode 1. But this is the first time I'm reviewing it, so let's go. Alright, so we'll just talk through what happened and then I'll give you a little bit of opinions along the way. This episode opens up with Ariana in her kitchen with her cat, and she's making herself a little latte, everything looking pretty normal. We get to see Allie and James in their new home, which I have to say is really beautiful on the inside. It clearly has been gutted and remodeled recently. It doesn't look like it's very large, but then it's LA, so that makes sense. But it's beautiful inside. I don't know if they bought a fixer-upper and then fixed it up, which would be very bright because they would make a lot of money that way, or if they bought one that somebody else flipped and they're moving in. But it also has a beautiful pool in the backyard. The only downside?
We do live by the airport, so there is a catch. Is there a world where you and Sandoval could ever be friends again?
Friends? Friends? Haven't heard one word from that man. Wave to the people.
I'm assuming it's the same in LA. I don't know where I live. If you live by the airport, your real estate is considerably cheaper. So they must have gotten a very good deal on the house, because not only was it screamingly loud when they were outside assembling furniture out there, but when they were inside their house, it was a decent noise level as well. But you know what? Kudos to them. It is not easy in this day and age, no matter where you live in America, to buy a house, and certainly in LA. So way to go. Being a homeowner is the way to go. Renting, not the way to go. We cut to Tom Schwartz in his apartment. It still seems sort of disheveled and bachelory. I don't know why. I don't know if it seems dark. I can't really for some reason I don't like his apartment. I can't really put my finger on why. He is watering one of his 1003 plants that he has around the house. Katie comes over to Ariana's place and they're talking a little bit about something about her, which is still not open. But I guess it's not too weird. I just really thought last season it seemed like it was going to be open soon. But in reality, when that concluded, there was really only 3 months. Well, when that concluded with the whole big scandal, because they really ended and then picked back up shooting again. But I guess there wasn't too much time in between there. So I guess I shouldn't be too hard on them. It really only was it feels like it's been a whole year since the last season, but I guess it's only been 3 months since they picked up. So it's okay. Something About Her is still not open, but they showed the inside of it, and oh my goodness, it's beautiful. It's really, it's worth the time they took to make it look right. It looks like something that Lisa Vanderpump would have touched. Very elegantly decorated, but also a very cool decor at the same time. And for as small as it seemed when they first saw it as just sort of an empty box, I'm surprised how much seating they actually got in it. So that's pretty cool. Because I kept thinking, like, everyone's going to get a sandwich, but where are they going to sit? The place is so small. They got a lot of seating in there, and then they'll have seating outside as well. And the rest of the people will get drunk at all the bars there in West Hollywood and just grab a sandwich to go. They reiterate the fact on the show that Tom and Ariana are still both living in the same house. Again, this is 3 months post breakup. Not that unusual, because I am sure that their mortgage is through the roof. And who wants to pay for that mortgage and a mortgage somewhere else? However, I will say it is wrong of Tom to not step up and offer to move into Raquel's.
Preach.
He should still be paying his part of the mortgage on that house until they can resolve everything, sell it, buy out somebody, whatever they need to do. And he should be living with Raquel because he's had an affair with her for 7 months. It's obviously not something that's going to dissipate right away. Or will it? We'll see. But after he did Ariana dirty like he did, it would be the gentlemanly thing to do and the right thing to do. Tom did not choose either of those. He's still living in a separate bedroom in the house. Wrong, Tom. Wrong.
Ugh, he's the worst.
I've written down in my notes that it's an egomatic and narcissistic move on his part. He still feels entitled to live in that house. And just rub it in Ariana's face while Raquel is sending packages and postcards and mail to his home for Ariana to see. It's just the worst. He's a pig. He could have opened up a post office box. They're not that expensive. They make good money on that show. Whatever. Send it to Schwartz's, and then Tom can go visit them and pick it up there. The cameras do pan through the house, which is a beautiful home and tastefully decorated. And then looks into the bedrooms of both Tom and Ariana. And Tom's bedroom, I'm like, oh, it looks like a bachelor pad and kind of sloppy and whatever. And then they show Ariana's bedroom. Oh my word, it's like a freaking bomb went off. What I most don't understand is she had to have known that cameras were coming over. And she cares so little about having her room clean that she will show the world that it looks like a bomb went off. You know what? Each to their own. Some people thrive in chaos. I just don't. It gave me anxiety and heart palpitations just to look at it for the 3 seconds that they showed it on the screen. Ariana points out that not only are they still living there, all their stuff is still in the house, and Tom had his assistant glue and reassemble the penis flute, which is the grossest, dumbest toy/instrument ever.
He had his assistant glue the penis flute back together. And you really want to hold on to that.
I don't even care if it's native to some African tribe that he went to visit. So dumb, so immature, such a childish thing to have.
Why don't you tell us how you really feel?
And then to take the time to glue it back together. I don't know. Tom is just weird. So now Schwartz meets James at a restaurant in LA there, and James at this point is sharing how he's upset that Tom has not reached out to him at all since all this happened. All right, let's pause just for a second. Come on, James. You can't act like the victim here, not after you threw daggers, justifiably. I was here for it and loving every bit of it, but you can't be that viscerally mean to somebody and get up out of your chair even and just be so intensively aggressive towards Tom. And I mean, I get it. It was his ex-girlfriend and he lied to him, so he was really upset. I mean, it still seemed like it was escalated to a level that James didn't need to get to because he was in another relationship. It made James look last season like he still was not over Raquel. It really did. You can't convince me otherwise. There's no way you can get that passionate about it if you didn't still have some residual feelings. So then I felt sorry for Allie, who had to sit here and watch James get all up in his feelings over this affair. So you can't expect after that for Tom to text and go, hey, let's get together. So sorry about the way I treated you, even though he didn't really treat James anyway. He dated James's ex-girlfriend. It's okay. I mean, I know there's a bro code, whatever. But James has moved on. I feel like bro code applies more before you found somebody who you like better. At that point, you don't care who takes your ex because they're, your discarded leftovers, right? But number 2, Tom is in New Zealand shooting a show. And it's like that boot camp show, like being in the military. I'm sure they're not all on their phones all day, texting and taking pictures. It seems like an intense show. Just from the little bit I saw, I haven't watched the whole thing. I've just, shockingly, my parents watch it and tell me how much they love season 1. So I'm assuming they're watching season 2. I haven't seen it. I've just seen previews of it. But from what they said and from what I've seen, it seems fairly intense. I don't think that he's spending a lot of time on social media. So James, just lay off. He's trying to make a mountain out of a molehill, maybe creating a storyline for the show. We cut to Brock and Sheena at their apartment, and they're talking about the breakup and the fact that Tom hasn't reached out either. During this time between the end of the season and this 3 months now, Tom Sandoval's best friend, ever since like high school or elementary school or something like that, forever, passed away. And so they felt very bad, understandably, for Tom, because not only did he lose his entire friend group, but now his best friend is gone too. This was a little enlightening to me because I really thought Schwartz was Tom's best friend, but apparently it was Ellie. So Sheena had texted, and so did Brock, and I think basically everybody on the cast or in their friend group sent a text message to Tom sharing their condolences, because it was obviously a very difficult time for him, piggybacking off of this bomb that went off due to Tom's actions, but nevertheless. And my understanding is he didn't really respond to anybody. In fact, he went ahead and blocked Sheena from all his social media. So it's just really weird that he blocked her. She sent a nice text. She read it. They showed it on the screen. Why would you block that? Tom is an odd duck, right? They show Lala in her apartment in West Hollywood. Now, Lala doesn't live in West Hollywood. She bought a home in Palm Springs. So, and it did say it was just an apartment. So I'm wondering if this is a short-term rental that she gets for 3 months for the shooting so that she can be in the West Hollywood area. Her mom is living with her, and in this same apartment complex, her brother's living there as well. And it's really nice to see Lala as a homebody. I mean, I will say, I hated her the first season she came on. There was nothing about her I liked whatsoever. And quite frankly, really up until after she was married and probably pregnant, I never liked her. And I get she threw out daggers for the show, but I just can't relate to it. I don't like mean girls, and she was a mean girl. Her and Katie are both mean girls. We'll get to Katie another time. But Lala is turning a new leaf. That little baby Ocean of hers has softened her heart. And the affair that Randall had has humbled her. She is blossoming into a beautiful person, and she's becoming one of my favorites. She points out that she was so focused on the custody agreement for Ocean for so long, which is working out great because Randall doesn't want Ocean on the show, so he wouldn't give her full custody. So I don't know exactly how custody works, but she gets to make all the decisions for health and education and that. But he gets the right to say she can't be on the show. And Lala's like, fine, I don't want her on the show. So it worked out great for them. I wonder if there could be like a agreement where she could receive full custody with an addendum that said she will never put her on the show. At any rate, it's working out fine for her. And now Lala is starting to process the feelings of sadness and regret and embarrassment from the divorce. She seems to be able to cry at the drop of a hat, not intentionally, but because she's just in a state of raw emotion, and I can relate to that. I like her.
You've done a complete 180.
At this get-together in the restaurant with James and Schwartz, Schwartz has on a, not a tom-tom hat, Schwartz and Sandy's hat. And he said it's the first time he's worn it since the whole thing happened 3 months ago because he's afraid of just being booed wherever he goes. Schwartz has had a bad year, and I really do feel for him. I know he's like a lost puppy without a brain, but he points out in the past year...
Permission to bitch a little? Last year almost just broke me. I got divorced. My brother Bert has been having some serious health issues. Like, we had so many bar woes.
He went through a divorce, which he didn't want. He's now out of his dream home and into this little kind of cruddy apartment. I mean, I'm sure it's a nice apartment. It just seems dismal, dark, and bachelory. But he went from this gorgeous home into this apartment. It's a step down. It's a lot of steps down. His one brother is very ill. He's got the triplet brothers. One of them is very sick. And then on top of all of that, then there was the whole getting the bar together. The delays. Jess was taking forever. The money that he was leaking to try to get this bar going. And a lot of that is Tom Sandoval's fault because he was jumping around all over the world and doing his little gigs and probably also spending a lot of time with Raquel and just not focusing on getting this bar together. He wasn't as committed as Schwartz was, but Schwartz doesn't know what to do. So Schwartz is like physically there trying to help. Like if somebody said, oh, the electrician is coming to do the wiring. We need somebody to open the door and to be there if they have questions. Schwartz can do that. But I don't see Schwartz as the person who figures things out, sees what needs to be done next, thinks 2 steps ahead, plans things, or even knows where to go. Now, they do have a partner, but for some reason the partner kept getting frustrated with them. So my understanding is they needed to do their parts and they weren't getting it done because Tom Sandoval was dragging his feet, busy doing other things. So on top of all of that, then the Sandoval scandal happened. And now Schwartz and Sandy's, which finally opened, is getting negative Yelp reviews. They're harassing their servers. Servers are leaving and quitting. The numbers are down. The sales are down.
You could almost say that Scandival was kind of like a radioactive cherry on top of my Sunday of a year.
That relationship with Tom Sandoval has hurt Tom Schwartz a lot. Not only financially hurt him a lot, but I think emotionally and growth-wise. I don't think Schwartz has ever really had an opportunity to grow up because Sandoval's kind of held his hand all the way through. I like what James said to Schwartz, and he said, you are your best Tom when you're just Tom. And you're not part of Tom Tom. So true. At this get-together, James points out he's not drinking anymore. I just don't believe it. I want to believe it. I want him to be sober. He said he chose it. It wasn't an ultimatum from Allie. I mean, maybe. Maybe because he's smoking weed 3 times a day. So, like, he needs to learn how to get over his addictive behavior or to substitute his addictive behavior with something like running or some sort of activity that's healthy for you. Become obsessed with cooking. Become like something. Take up anything. Just give up the mind-altering drugs, I think. Because, boy, I know when he drinks, he's not enjoyable at all. He's another character I used to really hate, and that's because he was so drunk all the time. Well, so is Lala, right?
Stop me if you're sensing a theme here.
When those two were drinking, they were miserable people. And you could tell that they were just miserable inside as well. But certainly it was miserable to be around, and it was miserable to watch. Didn't like them at all. Now, love them both. Because they still have the same quippy, sharp tongue, without all the nastiness and low blows that went along with it. We cut to Ariana and Sheena, who are meeting each other for massages at the Fairmount Spa, which I stayed at a Fairmount once in Cabo San Lucas, Mexico, and they're not cheap. That was an expensive massage that they were getting. Maybe they comped it for the advertising. Well, then again, these women, they make a lot of money. They can afford it, right? Ariana talks about Dan and dating him, and I have to say, I'm just suspicious.
He's a personal trainer and a bartender, and he lives in New York, so we're doing a little long-distance thing.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying she's wrong. I'm just hoping this is a rebound and she eventually moves on. Because the first person right after a breakup, like 10 days later, is probably not the one. And I think that she's always been so afraid of being alone that she just gravitates, and she's admitted in the past she's made terrible choices, poor choices. Sandoval was the right choice, finally the good one. And look how that one turned out.
I don't think Ariana has fully processed the trauma with Tom. But look, as long as Dan doesn't sleep with one of Ariana's best friends, he's already a giant step up from her ex.
So her picker's off. And she just needs to spend time with Ariana. And I don't think she's able to do that yet. I don't know. She needs a lot of counseling to just accept who she is and be alone by herself and not only be okay with it, but enjoy it and embrace it. I know that she's a homebody, But it seems like when she's a homebody, she always has her friends come over and then they watch, Love Island or whatever it is that they watch. That's not like being okay with just yourself. She needs that. So I'm worried about this Dan guy. I'm worried that it was so quick that she jumped into it. He might be very successful. He's a personal trainer and a bartender. Those can absolutely be careers and lucrative ones, or they could kind of be a dead-end job as well, where you're never going to get ahead and you're always going to be in the same rat race over and over again. I want to see her with like a successful lawyer or something.
Just something different.
Sheena points out that she's not drinking right now. When she was at the spa, she hasn't been drinking. She's not drinking for 3 weeks because she's taking her Zoloft, which I believe is an antidepressant, but she also has anxiety and OCD, and she wants to see how the Zoloft works minus any other drugs or alcohol in her system. And she said that she's been feeling really good without taking any drugs or alcohol recently. So she is not California sober like James. And I really feel for her. She's been dealing with this anxiety and going to counseling for her thoughts and feelings and all that, and was diagnosed with OCD 6 months ago. And then the scandal happened 3 months ago, and it just escalated everything. So she's trying to find the balance of it all. Because in there, she also found out that somebody she trusted so deeply betrayed her, and that can rock anybody's world. The amount of lying that you realize went on. But also, Rachel put the restraining order on her. Well, that's going to throw any person who doesn't have any kind of mental health issues is going to freak out over that. So the poor girl, she points out her thoughts are just reeling, and this is when I felt the most sorry for her.
My brain is just going crazy about, well, if Tom could do this to Ariana, could Brock do this to me? Would Brock do something with Lala? And just like, it's been a roller coaster, I'll say that.
She knows those thoughts aren't logical, but she can't help but to think them, and that can like really just cause you to be frozen. Ariana points out she has not been in contact with Schwartz, and that's basically because we saw her last season go up to him and say, listen, you're best friends with my lover of 7 years, who I own a house with, who cheated on me for 7 months. I can't be friends with you. I just can't, because the two of you are best friends. And in Schwartz's defense, he can't give up being Tom Sandoval's best friend because they own a bar together. If it were just Tom, it would be okay, because it's really Lisa's bar. They each only own like 5% of it. So they could show up at different times. It would be fine. But Schwartz and Sandy's is all theirs, and all their money is poured into it. He has to maintain a decent relationship with Tom Sandoval. He doesn't have a choice. But as Schwartz does, he takes it one step too far, goes on Watch What Happens Live, says he's feeling sorry for Sandoval, and tells the world that if anybody sees him, to go up to him and give him a hug. So now Ariana is like, yeah, nothing's changed. In fact, it's worse. I have no desire to be friends with Schwartz. Can't blame her. This only happened 3 months ago.
And then I blocked him. I don't remember exactly what I said to Schwartz, but I don't think it was that bad.
It says, you, blocking your number, go choke on Sandoval's dirty-ass dick somewhere. Jesus. For the record, I've never choked on Sandoval's dirty-ass dick.
So at Tom Tom that night, we see James there. He's DJing. All the girls were coming. It looks like a See You Next Tuesday kind of event, but I think See You Next Tuesday is solely at Sir. So maybe this was a Wednesday. I don't know. Before Ariana goes, she's on the phone with the boyfriend, Dan, I believe his name is. And I will say he's really cute. Like, I can see the attraction. And they make a very striking couple. So I get it. I hope it's just all fun and games. So they go inside, and I've been to Tom Tom once. I had dinner there once, like 6 years ago, when my daughter graduated from college, and she was living in California at the time, graduated from a college in California, Chapman University. Shout out Panthers. Great school. She's making 6 figures already with a bachelor's degree 6 years later. Living in Nashville, living the life, doing better than mom and dad. It's okay. That's what you want for your kids, right? I do anyway. I want them to surpass me. Here I am on YouTube. Just kidding. I'm a speech therapist. Okay, let's move on. So I will say that the inside of Tom Tom started to look familiar, but they've changed a lot of things in 6 years when I was last there, and I saw these steps that went upstairs. Do they have like a loft up there? Or, I mean, there was a guard standing in front of the steps at one point, so maybe that's just like where Lisa's offices are or something along that line, or where the staff can put their coats and whatnot. Maybe it's not for any public people. I believe that they've opened a patio in the back, which wasn't open when we were there. But I'm curious if people can go upstairs too. It'd be cool if there was a rooftop bar up there as well. Maybe not though. So the girls are all getting together and talking. Sheena has a cute off-the-shoulder top with what looks like maybe leather pants. Looks like it may have even been like a velvet or velour off-the-shoulder top, and then her leather pants that kind of matched it. Katie is doing her typical retro black kind of attire that she normally does. Lala looks amazing, and a full body suit, looks like a cat suit, but it looked like maybe it was Louis Vuitton. I don't know. I remember there was a print, but now off the top of my head, I can't picture what that print was. But anyway, it was brown with some sort of pattern on the whole thing, went over her shoes, went over her hands, and man, there is 0.00001% of the population in America can fit into that and look good. Lala can. Allie in a typical little cocktail dress. She always has like a, your standard typical basic party girl kind of dress when she goes out. And I will say, not a fan of what Ariana was wearing, especially when she sits down. It was okay when she was standing up. It was like a denim little mini dress that was strapless, I believe, but it looked so uncomfortable. She just felt like I felt like she was always kind of adjusting it and trying to sit upright. And I was so uncomfortable watching her that I just thought, I hate that outfit. Not because it was ugly, but she looked incredibly uncomfortable. It was an outfit that if she were one of the crowd that was never going to sit down and was just standing, would have been okay and fine. Tom Schwartz tries to warm up and say hello and all that to Ariana. She's not having it. She pretty much snubs him. He goes to the bar and tries to get sympathy, as Tom always does, with his puppy dog look. I need a hug. Ariana doesn't like me. I don't know. It's just been there, done that, seen him do it so many times. I mean, he's kind of cute. And he does seem like a puppy dog that you just want to save and rescue. But I get that's what upset Katie. Like, that's who he is all the time. Doesn't really take responsibility. It's like she was parenting him, not a spouse to him. So
Precisely, the Peter Pan syndrome.
I get it. I can see that. And because of that, it did almost bother me a little bit when he's like, I need a hug. I mean, how many people go up to the bartender? I know he knows them, but like, I need a hug so bad. Reach over the bar and give me a hug. Because Ariana snubbed him? I mean, come on. How needy are you, Schwartz?
Grow up.
Ariana, meanwhile, is talking to the group about the memories that are flooding back in her mind being in Tom Tom, which she hadn't been in since she was in a relationship still with Sandoval. And she is genuinely getting emotional and teary-eyed, and I felt for her. Lala now pulls Lisa aside and talks to her about the fact that she's starting to feel a little bit bad for Raquel. And I understand what she's saying because I felt the same thing in this moment. Here is the very end of last year's, not the finale, I can't think of the name of it. When they ask them all the questions, they all get the reunion. So at the reunion, after it was all over and they're doing the interview with her, and she kind of confesses, like, listen, I have lost all of my friend group, which is really sad that this is her only friend group. We're all her friends from before she was on the show. And you see a lot of these people have other friends besides those on the show. So I don't completely understand all that. But she's saying she's losing all of her friends in this. And so Tom is the only person she has. And even though she knows Tom is lying and is forcing her to lie about timeline and when they got together and specifics like that, she has to stand by Tom because he's all she has. And if he turns on her, she has nobody. Not 100% true because she does have her family, but I get where she's coming from. And I really felt for her, and apparently Lala did too, and Lala empathized and sympathized with her in that situation. and felt like she wanted to reach out to her and just see if she's doing okay. Because she had been now for like 50 days or something like that in a rehab facility for mental health issues. I wrote after all of this that I'm believing what Lala says and that she has grown up so much. I used to hate her most of all, but this is proof that anybody can change. And then I have in parentheses, well, it helps to ditch the alcohol. We have Katie and Sheena sitting down talking to each other, and this just really bugged me. Katie brings up again how the one little thing that Sheena did, how she needs to learn to trust her again. Like, have we been through this already?
So over this.
I don't know. It's like Sheena does one little thing wrong and Katie jumps on her like a very hungry tiger, ready to tear her apart. And Sheena really hasn't done anything significant to Katie. In retaliation, after years and years and years of Katie truly being a mean girl, straight up mean girl to Sheena, Sheena never forces her to come and grovel and apologize, whereas Katie will make you apologize 10 times before it gets through her thick skull. I'm sorry, I know a lot of people love Katie. And there's a lot of things about Katie I love, but the way she treats other girls, don't love. I remember Mean Girls. I have seen Mean Girls. She is a mean girl. End of story. Doesn't mean she can't be nice. But I don't know, maybe she just needs help. Maybe she's just so messed up inside that she just has to take it out on somebody else because she doesn't know how to deal with it. At which point I have a little bit more sympathy for her. When there's mental health involved, it's like, okay, you get a pass. But Katie she never seems happy. She never smiles. The only time she's a good time is when she's drinking, unless she's drinking tequila. Then we go all the way at the other end. So we go from this miserable, sad, never smiling, vicious talking, mean girl to the fun girl who's drinking until she gets the tequila and then she just goes insane. Tequila Katie's scary. I don't know. She needs to figure out how to get joy in her life. That's what she needs. She needs to find Jesus. Let's move on. I'm just going to read to you what I've written here. I wrote, what did Sheena ever do besides mention to Tom that Katie was dating and sleeping around, so he should too? This is while they were divorcing. This shouldn't be new news, so who cares? Maybe you all know a whole lot more. Write it down below. But please don't be mean about it. Just tell me. Just educate me. This is senior perspective. I'm not in my 20s anymore. I can't remember everything. I have watched every minute of Vanderpump Rules and loved every second of it. Well, there were some rough years, but I enjoyed it for the most part. But I can't remember everything. It's not the only show I watched. Okay, have some grace. But do share any information you have that I'm getting incorrect. I go on to write that Katie has called Sheena so many rude, mean, awful things over the years. She's ignored her. She's gotten other girls to go against her for no reason most of the time.
We just need to get you tigerized.
You give me a smile.
Have a good time. Enjoy life. It's life is too short to get bogged down, to be discouraged, or you have to keep moving. You have to keep going. Put one foot in front of the other, smile, and just keep on rolling.
And Sheena is just always nice and takes it like a punching bag. For the longest time, I thought Sheena was fake because she is so nice all the time. I just felt like she was putting an act on. But over the years, from other people that on podcasts and whatnot have all shared, she's just like that all the time. She's just a really nice person. I'm assuming Katie's probably really nice outside of the show, and I'm hoping she's playing a little bit of a character on there. Lala leaves the bar, calls Rachel, leaves her a message saying, listen, I'm here if you want to talk. I'd be interested in connecting. I don't know if that's a good choice or not. I don't know if just doing it on camera, somehow it feels inauthentic for holding off and doing it on the show. If she really felt that way, it would have been better if maybe she just did it on her own time and just shared what it was all about. I don't know. I don't know if you should mess with somebody who's in a mental health facility for the sake of ratings in the show. It just didn't seem right. They cut back to Schwartz's place, which they show the front of their apartments before they show the inside of all these apartments, and they don't match. That is not where they're really living, and I get it. It's probably a safety, security thing. James and Raquel lived in the exact same building and tower as my daughter did when after she graduated from college, and she was living in La Brea at the time, and they were a few floors up from where she was. And their apartments had these huge windows. And then when you saw the front facade of the building, when it would say James and Raquel's apartment, there were no windows. They were like these vertical, skinny windows along the way. Like anybody who watched the show and sees them in their apartment with these big, beautiful windows and then saw the exterior with these skinny little windows would go, those don't match. It actually was a beautiful apartment complex. But anyway, he doesn't live there anymore. He moved out to another apartment building with Ellie. Well, no, he bought a house, but last season he was in a different apartment building. Anywho, I say this to say, if you ever think about trying to look up on Google Maps or something at the exteriors, they don't match. And maybe you all knew that already. I just never really thought about it until I saw James and Raquel's new place and went, everything about this apartment's identical to my daughter's, down to the locks on the door, like everything. But the exterior was not her building. Okay, moving on. So Katie goes over to Schwartz's to pick up the dogs because they still share custody of the dogs. Schwartz points out that he gave them both baths and actually cleaned the dingleberries off of them, which I think is actually a step up for Schwartz. I don't see him as taking responsibility and initiative. So good for him. Kudos. Katie didn't seem impressed, but I thought it was impressive because it seems like a step beyond what he would normally do. Schwartz mentions that Sandoval is doing this like boot camp kind of reality show. And Katie has a great one-liner. I hope he cries. It made me laugh. And Katie does have some good one-liners too. And of course she delivers them like a straight man because she never smiles. Schwartz just replies, he cries a lot. And she kind of looked funny, but I'm like, yeah, he does, doesn't he? He cries all the time. He's a very emotional guy in terms of his personal selfish feelings of something. I don't see him crying a lot for other people, but I do see him crying a lot kind of for himself and how situations affect him. Near the end of the episode, we have another girls' night, not at Tom Tom, but at another bar this time. Lala is still sober. This must be like 7 years or something like that. So winning, she doesn't even seem to blink when it comes to ordering a drink. She knows exactly what she's going to get, and she clearly can be around alcohol and still maintain her sobriety, which I think is pretty amazing. They order French fries, and Lala orders a huge side of ranch dip to dip them in. Oh, girl after my own heart. I am actually not a ranch dip fan, but I love dipping them in mayo. Between high school and college, years ago, I worked at Mr. Hero for a summer, and it was a night shift, and after the dinner rush, we sat there for hours just talking to each other, and people would always take the waffle fries and get a container of mayo and dip them in and eat them, and I'm like, that is so gross. You are so disgusting. They're like, don't knock it till you try it. And they forced me to try it, even though I didn't want to. I'm like, it's okay. And then I try it again, and I'd be like, I guess it's actually kind of good. And then now I cannot eat French fries without dipping them into mayo. It's terrible. Who needs the calories? Oh, but it's good. So they start talking about Schwartz. Lala says, can I be the devil's advocate for Schwartz? And I love the line from Ariana, which is simply, the devil doesn't need an advocate. It's so true. Good line. Lala points out that Schwartz has gone through many years of mental abuse by being friends with Tom Sandoval. So it's going to take him some time to unravel all of that. And Ariana understands that. She said that she's been wanting to be closer with Katie for a long time, but her boyfriend, Tom Sandoval, wouldn't allow it. He'd always like, oh, be careful. I don't know. Be careful about that. And discouraged it. At this point, Lala and Ariana are having a really great conversation, and they're being vulnerable with each other. And Lala says she can't tell if Ariana really sees her as a good friend. And Ariana's like, of course I do. And Lala's like, I know, I can't tell. And she starts to cry. And it's partly because Lala's crying a lot lately, she admitted. She's very emotional. Lala points out she has a very tough exterior, but she's very soft inside, which I think a lot of people with tough exteriors are soft inside, especially females. Not all, but a lot of them are. And Ariana says we're two of the same, really. Because Ariana's the same way. Tough on the exterior, soft on the inside. So they're being vulnerable and just looking at each other and talking. And Sheena interrupts just to say this.
Sorry that I didn't trust your judgment.
I do think you guys need like a you moment.
Yeah, thank you, Sheena. Thank you for interrupting the us time to tell us that we need to take some us time. I don't know, she just felt like she needed some camera time. It was the most inappropriate time to interrupt and state the obvious. And I love me some Sheena, but honestly. At this point, Lala goes ahead and shares with Ariana that she made the phone call to Raquel.
There was one thing that she said in that, which was, if I don't basically follow what Tom has told me, I don't feel like I'm going to have anybody. I was like, I am feeling like, but I don't want her to wear this for the rest of her life.
Ariana's reaction and expression on her face seems to imply she doesn't agree. She sees it from a different lens, understandably. She was a woman scorned.
I want you to know, I sent her a message last night.
I will say that Katie and Sheena both, in a good way, defended Ariana in this and tried to explain to Lala, like, I understand. Lala kept saying, I know what it's like. I've been there. And they kept saying, your situation is different. These are different people. We have different characters in this story. You can't compare the two. Rachel took it to a whole nother level, for sure. And Lala seemed to get that. It was a good conversation. Very mature of them all. I would say it's a pretty tame episode. It ends with Tom Sandoval coming home, getting dropped off by his Uber to his house very late at night in the dark, implying that this is when the girls were at the bar going out at night, and he walks into his house, yells out hello, nobody says anything, which is not a surprise. I don't think they say hello and goodbye to each other. So I don't know why the hello yell out, but maybe the producers told him to do it, and he just goes up the steps and into his little bedroom, and that's the end of the episode. I've heard this is a very good season, which is why I'm going to review it. If you at all enjoy Vanderpump Rules, or if you just enjoy my reviews, can you please like, subscribe, comment, and share? I owe you one. Thanks a bunch. I'll be back with episode 2 when it comes out. See you next time. Bye.